Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash,
The fear you don't face becomes your limits.
and Dale Hummel.
Bidenomics. Buy today because prices are going up tomorrow.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, I'd like to lead off with Bidenomics.
Why?
Well, I heard Biden come on TV or had a spot on probably Fox News. I assume that's all I had on. And he was explaining how Thanksgiving meal was the fourth lowest cost in history. And this is clearly a lie. Clearly a lie. And there's no question. There's data that...
You're inventing shit. He's not even that.
No, I heard him. So what I would like to understand, is he lying about this? He knows the difference, or is he truly that ignorant?
He cannot be that dumb. So he has to be
said
lying.
It. I listened to
I'm not saying he didn't say it. I'm saying he can't be
I would
that
agree
dumb.
with you. In the beginning, I thought that, but I have come to the conclusion he may be that dumb.
And I didn't text you about this because, again, at the point, I thought it was outrageous. There was like one of the largest, and I don't know the name, and I didn't dig into it that way. But anyway, one of the top 5 largest grocery store chains in California, they had turkeys selling for $200, and they were promoting this as one of the cheapest places. So
that is crazy. I noticed right after Thanksgiving, turkeys were dirt cheap. I'm always shocked on how cheap turkeys are to begin with. But yeah,
a $200 turkey is not cheap.
No, that is not. No, that I usually see them like for $1.50 a pound or $2. I mean, it seemed very, very cheap to me.
I mean, granted, this was a cooked one, but still, I just no.
Got it.
But
well, no, and we know, and I don't go grocery shopping a lot, but I will go with my wife, and we'll get a full grocery cart or two, and it's painful. But it used to be $500 or $600 to go grocery shopping for a couple weeks. Now it's close to $1,000. Pretty much same stuff going in the shopping cart.
Again, I don't know why you would even bring up Bidenomics, because the American people are not buying what he is selling. It just is not.
I hope he continues to try to promote that.
Do you know that there was a poll that came out yesterday that 89% of Americans are worried about inflation? So clearly they're not buying the Bidenomics of it all.
Nor that a cheap turkey dinner.
But Hunter, your boyfriend, Hunter Biden, is going to testify in front of the House Oversight Committee now.
I heard that, and I hear he's on the offensive, suing everybody that tries to prosecute him or bring up anything negative.
I guess, but I think that's very, very interesting that he's going to testify. Of course, again, nothing that is said there legally will happen to him, but at least he's going to show up. I mean, that's something, I guess. It'll be entertaining.
It is. I agree. There was one other little Bidenomic thing that I wanted
Jesus
to hit
Christ.
that I just saw this morning, basically when I woke up. Credit card debt in the U.S. hit $1 trillion, record high. I thought they said $3
trillion.
A record high, irregardless. Mm-hmm. And the average credit card percent interest I saw was 20.72.
Mm-hmm.
That is staggering.
Yes.
And I understand sometimes credit cards are abused and people buy frivolous things that they shouldn't, and they're not managing money well sometimes. But the bar graphs that they put up there, and again, it may have been biased. I can't tell you that I did the research or anything like that. I'm just looking at a quick news blip. But it wasn't necessarily those that are going out and buying things they shouldn't. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but a lot of this was just, at least in the poll that they took or the survey, this was to get by. This was to buy groceries. This was to buy fuel. This was just to get by because of the rising cost of everything and their fixed costs in terms of their mortgages and so forth. They're paying, and now there's nothing left. So what else do you do if you don't have money to go buy groceries or fuel? You're going to put it on the credit card. And as soon as you put on that credit card and you can't pay it off in 30 days, you're hit with 20% interest. That is staggering. That's $200 a year, even if you only have $1,000 balance. And these balances are much, much higher. You can't get out from under some of those things. So that's people have to be feeling this. And like you said, you can't hide inflation. And this leads me into, I hear some pundits finally talking about, you know who, sweeping in without having to campaign. Biden backs down for whatever reason. Michelle comes in just before the election.
I've heard about nothing about Michelle Obama.
Yes, I heard it last night on Fox. I don't know which person was discussing it. And then another one came on and said she has no interest. She's enjoying life. She's not going to do that. I hope they're correct, because my fear is if she came in, didn't have to debate, really didn't have to do anything other than put her name on the ticket, I'm fearful I'm fearful she'd win.
She will win. There's no doubt.
That is terrible.
And it doesn't matter who you run against her. She will win.
Yeah, let's hope she doesn't want to do it.
She is the most popular female in the world, Dale.
Why?
She is.
I'm not arguing that she is. I'm asking you why.
I don't know, because I don't know her. But she will win. So you better hope she doesn't, because she will win. And you could put God up against her, and I don't know if God would beat her. Being real honest. But
and that doesn't calculate for me. It's not logical. I don't understand where her popularity, where her qualifications would be to run the country.
She was the first lady.
Yes, I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think a very good one either, by the way.
She's the most popular woman in the world. So you better hope. Why do you bring up things like this? This is terrible.
Because these are the things that worry me.
Well, first off, more important stuff, and then I do have something funny at the end. Do you realize that only one American hostage has been released from the Hamas of it all? And now that's all over with, by the way, because Israel's claiming that Hamas violated the ceasefire on 3 different. So it's all done. One American hostage.
They claim because the Americans were men. And they're trying to release women and children. I have no idea if that is accurate, but I did hear that.
Well, one. I don't think that's very good. And then that's a mess. And then God love your little boyfriend from Florida, Ron DeSantis. So he is putting all of his hopes and dreams and all this stuff into Iowa. Do you know that, sir? Are you aware of that?
I wasn't aware that he's putting all of it into there. But
so on Saturday, he will have visited every county in Iowa over his presidential campaign, and the governor's going to be there, and all this whatever, and all this other stuff, and he is everything, and it's going to change in Iowa, and all this other nonsense, and it is really quite. It is something. If you will actually go to his campaign stuff and read these press releases and all this stuff, he is all in on this. So a poll came out either Friday or Monday. I don't know which. Do you know what percentage of the vote he has in Iowa?
I do not, and I'm curious.
Do you want to
guess? On that in the primary, correct?
Yeah, and this
we're looking at
an Iowa poll, and this is after Scott pulled out. By the way, so this is all the current people in there.
Somewhere between 10 and 15%.
16.
Okay.
Do you know how much Trump has?
He's probably somewhere in the 60s.
49.
Yeah. And I think there's no way he can beat him. I find it interesting. They are still caucusing in Iowa, right?
Yes.
That is their way to primary. And that I understand. I understand the mechanics of it to a certain degree, but that is intriguing to me, how that actually works. There's a little bit you have to want to partake to go do that.
Yeah, because it seems like it's a very drawn out process.
And you would think those that are such diehard Trump supporters, they're more willing to spend their time to do that. So I'm afraid it's going to get much.
I just don't understand.
I'm confident it'll be much further on Trump's side.
I don't understand who is running your boyfriend's campaign. I do not think they do a very good job, because I would not be saying we live and die by Iowa.
I think
that's not a real good thing to say.
Well, I think that's their only only chance of getting somewhere. And if he visited every county, he's putting the time and effort in. I just don't think it's going to pay off for him. What I found interesting is Nikki Haley, and she's right. She is coming up in the polls. She's nowhere near Trump, but she's rising in the polls. And if you were to take all those running in the primary and put Trump up against him, I believe he's still ahead. But if she was the only one running against Trump, and assumably all those others from other candidates would go to her, it does become a closer race. And that's what she's really trying to push it at this point.
They're not going to get out because she wants them to. She's not even second. DeSantis is second.
Even if they get out, what's to say the vote is going to her?
Exactly. Here's the thing. And again, I'm not trying to be sexist or racist or all these things.
But you are a little bit.
No, I'm not. But
yes, I believe so.
The people that vote in primaries or caucuses amongst the GOP, the overwhelming portion of them are old white men. And old white men do not want to vote for a woman.
I cannot agree with that one, but
how can you not agree with it?
I think and again, I'm not saying I'm a Nikki Haley. I think she's fine. I think she'd be a better president than many that we've had. Do I think she's the right one right now compared to Trump to come in and fix a lot of this shit that's going on? No, I do not. But in general, I think she has some qualities that at least what she's talking about, my fear is she won't follow through with what she's campaigning once she gets in office, like most, unlike Trump that actually did. If I was Nikki Haley, I would not be pushing the fact that, hey, if everybody drops out, I have a chance. But why doesn't she go to the fact that she is beating Biden by over 10% in the general, or 10% greater than where Trump is, or DeSantis? I believe DeSantis is 1 point above Trump, but Nikki is wiping them all out when it's a head-to-head with her against Biden. So why wouldn't she try to convince primary voters? And it won't work, but I think that's her best chance to bring more vote to her, that she has the best chance in the general election.
I think it is comical that she thinks that she can go out there and tell people to drop out and they're going to do it because she said so. Again, I want to know who runs these campaigns. Like, how do you get this job?
They have campaign managers.
I know they do, but I want to know who these people are, how they get this job, and how dumb they are, because that is a terrible strategy. It's like, if y'all would all drop out, I could maybe beat Trump. Okay, because they haven't spent hundreds of millions of dollars on their campaign, and they're just, because Nikki could maybe be, the same could be said for everyone. If everybody else drops out and all the vote goes to them, Chris Christie might beat Trump. Do you think that's going to happen? No.
I would agree. I go back. She needs to push the fact that she is leading by the largest margin head to head with Biden in the general. And that is not enough to get her over the hump, but that is her only chance to gain many more points.
These campaign managers, I swear to God, I'm in the wrong business, because these people are dumb and they get paid lots of money. They just stupid. But do you have any other?
I do.
Oh, what is your other one? Because I have a funny story.
Iran.
What about Iran?
Do you realize Iran-backed terrorists continue to attack our bases throughout the Middle East? And you know what we do about it?
Nothing.
That is correct. So when we do nothing, are they going to continue to attack our bases?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you also aware that they now have enough enriched uranium to make multiple nuclear bombs?
I'm sure they do.
Do you remember the pile of dollars, cash, green cash that Obama gave them?
No, I don't remember that. That was a long time ago.
Yes, it was lots and lots of money. And how he eased everything. He made it easier for them to develop the nuclear technology, in my opinion. And by the way, he is Michelle's husband, so she's going to follow the same plan if she were to swoop in and become president.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Speaking of following the same plan, when Biden got in office, again, we're seeing the same lax, non-commitment to hold Iran in check, which is too late at this point. And the reason I bring this up, unlike Xi Jinping, Putin, or even your buddy Kim Jong-un, I think all three of those people, I think they want to live. They don't want to commit an act that's going to get them killed. Does that make sense? I don't think they care if their people die, but I don't think themselves, I think each of them wants to live life. Can we agree with that?
Uh-huh.
The crazy Ayatollah, whoever the hell, whatever his name is in Iran, they are so dead set jihad, live or die by jihad. They don't care. They will use nuclear weapons knowing they will be completely taken out. And that does not slow them down. That is the point where we need to be very, very concerned. And I don't know how to address it other than take them off the map immediately.
No, so you want to nuke them?
Before they're going to nuke us in one way or another. As soon as they can get it pulled off, they are going to do it. So do you suggest we wait until they do that?
I'm not even getting into this argument or debate because, again, it
is real.
You can say whatever you want to. You have no control over this. And I am telling you right now that the man that holds the codes to the nuclear weapons is not using them anytime soon. Ever.
No, I agree. And maybe we don't use a nuclear weapon. Maybe we go in and just take out as much of that leadership as we can. And the problem is who fills in is going to be probably a lot of the same. And they don't care. They die. How many virgins they end up with and wherever they go?
You just do not know.
It's much better than the conscious life on this planet.
Well,
so there is no fear there. Zero. Nothing to deter them. Did you see the trains heading to North Mexico with all the illegal immigrants from everywhere on top of the trains coming by the thousands?
No, I did not.
To the north, to the southern border. Yeah, it's going to be another flood. I surrender.
How do they get on top of a train, sir?
The trains look like they were built for people to be on top of them. They have little places kind of, they're not seats, but we're talking 50 people on each train car. In multiple train cars, all heading to the north, and they're allowing it to happen. And it just makes it easier. They don't have to walk through Mexico anymore. They just jump on a train.
Well, isn't that festive?
Very, very special, isn't
it? It sounds like it. Oh, you're just full of positivity. So,
okay, give us something funny.
Well, the other thing is, by the time this airs, Hannity will have his debate between your boyfriend and Gavin Newsom, and again, I think that's going to go terribly wrong for DeSantis. But it will be very
if he would stick to the facts and compare why is everybody leaving California going to Florida. Look at the balance sheets of the two states and just lay out common sense. He wins.
Yeah, and he's on Fox, so he's going to win. But I think this is whoever running him campaign. Gavin Newsom will score lots of points against him on this. And
this all comes down to one thing.
What?
You're attracted to Gavin. You don't like DeSantis.
I don't dislike DeSantis. I told you that. I think he is stupid for running against Trump. The stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But and DeSantis is not an unattractive man either. That has nothing to do with it. I'm telling you, DeSantis is the dumbest politician person I have ever met. He can win Florida going away, and now he's going to self-destruct on a national stage. It just drives me crazy. But I don't think
he should have waited.
Yeah,
I don't know if the result would have been better, but it couldn't have been worse.
No, this is bad. But the reason I think this is such a stupid idea, and I probably said this last week, he gains nothing by this at all. Everybody that is going to watch Fox News would vote for DeSantis before they vote for Gavin Newsom. He gains nothing, but he can look like a fool.
He can, and it's going to give your boyfriend out there in California more FaceTime, more recognition, and that's exactly what he's after.
But I also think this was Hannity's idea, and Hannity is way pro-Trump, so I think he probably did this to probably hurt DeSantis even more. But anyway, so funny story, Judge and Hawk show this weekend, and I met a man that was working the ring, and he wants to know how your Stephenville, America alien crusade is going, because he would like to join.
I would love to have him join. I as some of our listeners know, and I'm going to apologize, I did go into our email to pull out question and answers today, and we just don't check that email. I'm going to start checking it, Ryan.
Oh,
There's
good.
there's a bunch of them in there about judging show. There's a lot of things we should answer, and I feel bad because it's not on either of our radars to go check that email. But
I
I'm
don't
going to
even
check
know
it.
we have an email.
Yes, I'll try to figure out how to get you.
I don't need
Clifton.
it.
Clifton can get you logged in.
To look at throughout.
I went there for question and answer purposes because I just did. I thought, well, this will be great. I'll go pull the first 3 off there to be and I did find one about pinning hogs. You're speaking of a hog show and whether you pin hogs or not at the show, but I found a question on there about that. So yes, and there was an email in there that somebody near Stevensville has information they would like to share. So I think this would be good to probably tie into one of my trips down to the Texas Majors. Ryan, that would be closer to probably Houston than Fort Worth.
No, Stephenville is 30 minutes from Fort Worth.
South. That is right. So I can do it during the Fort Worth trip. That makes perfect sense. Go early. Will you join us?
No, I'm not. I'm good, but go with
they have
God.
That good barbecue restaurant.
The Hard 8.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth going to, I think.
I'm okay. I've been there before. Thank you, though.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mr. Pig Show person, we're going to try to do it before or after the Fort Worth Goat Show.
There you go. Wonderful. Fabulous. Okay. So I've had all the current events that I can have for one day. So we're getting closer to the end of the year. So I am going to highlight the current top 10 all-around exhibitors in the Beyond the Ring Junior Livestock Association. In first place is Isabel Lowry. Second place is Piper Liska. Third place is Zane Downey. Fourth place is Macy Zerbach. Fifth place is Echo Bartles. Sixth place is Paisley Carlson. Seventh place is Dallas Ritchie. Eighth place is Elmer Hambrick. Ninth place is Addison Sharp. And 10th place is Mason Calhoun. So good luck to all of y'all as you were going out the last month of shows, and leads are changing every single week, and people don't like that. And I'm sorry that happens, but I cannot control it because there are still shows. And like there was an 800 head cattle show in Ohio this past weekend. Who knew? But yeah, lots of points to still be had and done. So I think that is the beauty of this point system. And that's why it was designed that way, because again, you can only count 10 rings and you can replace rings with higher rings and all this. So, and with Arizona National being the last show and it being triple points, no one is safe till the bitter end. That's just how it is. So we would like to thank Leonard Truck and Trailer for being the largest BTRJLA donor for the past 2 years. At Leonard Truck and Trailer, we are dedicated to providing the best service, selection, and value. Our efforts are focused on meeting and exceeding our customers' expectations every day because we know our continued success relies on our ability to satisfy each and every one of you. They are committed to being the one-stop trailer source with the largest selection of trailers in the nation, our on-the-spot financing, custom vinyl department, in-house warranty department, and comprehensive parts and service department. It is apparent why Leonard Truck and Trailer can satisfy all your trailer needs. Thank you to Leonard Truck and Trailer and the Clint Leonard family for all of your support of the BTRJLA.
Congratulations to the BTRJLA Top 10, and thank you, Leonard Truck and Trailer. What supplement is made in America? Backed by science and has the biggest bang for the buck. It is ShowFresh H2O, and we appreciate their support of this podcast. You can find ShowFresh H2O at the local farm store, Show Supply Trailer, or swampfox.com. Now, the title that Ryan will explain to you that his crazy drunk ass came up with several weeks ago.
Like 2 months ago. Yeah, I don't know I don't remember what this was, but again, I sent Del topic, probably inebriated in a bar somewhere. Why ask why? And he brought it up 2 months later, and now he wants to do it, and I don't remember what the hell it's about. So it's now Del's topic. I just came up with the title.
And you did, in your defense, whatever you told me about at that time, and I should go check the text record, but that would take a lot of time. You had something behind it that was really good. Now, I have no idea if we're going to go with that.
There's been a lot that's happened to me since I came up with this topic, so I do not remember. But I mean, it's fine. It's whatever.
Well, I'm going to use it. And a lot of these things we've answered in different episodes. And sometimes when I go out and watch a show or judge a show, some people are not listening. And we're going to do kind of a rapid fire, different questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? But before we do, I guess to me, there's a big gap in the ability of a lot of our young new families. They're always stating that they don't have enough access to information to learn. And I believe this to be true, that it is maybe there's a need for more of that. And I think we're starting to fill that need. I hope this podcast does some of that, but this is how you learn. Ask those people. If you see somebody shearing a lamb in a certain manner that you weren't familiar with, ask them why they're doing that. If you have a feed salesman come by and visit with you at your pens and they're trying to sell a certain feed, ask them, why is that feed going to be best for this individual animal? And if they try to tell you something like, well, it's the best for all. Well, no, that's the first red flag to me, that they obviously do not understand nutrition, and every animal is going to react as that individual does. And some animals need to be leaner. Some animals need to be heavier. Some animals need to be lighter, fatter. All of these things are different. So ask those questions. Don't just sit back and buy the fact, well, that one did this and they won, so it must work. Figure out why and make sure that it makes sense and that you're focusing on those points that actually took that person to that championship, rather than maybe something you notice from a distance that may have played little to no role in doing such. So I think that most do not ask enough questions. I think I would like to encourage our listeners, do not be afraid to ask those questions. We're happy to answer them here on the podcast, but we're not going to get through very many, only doing 3 a week. But whether you're at your county fair, your local jackpot show, state fair, national show, for the most part, if you were to approach a family or an exhibitor and ask them why they're doing such and such in a manner that's not offensive to them, they're going to likely explain at least why they believe they're doing that and why that helps. So let's do a little more of that. Let's open our community up just a little bit and do a little more. So with that, Ryan, I'm going to give you some whys, and I guess I have a lot of them.
This is a terrible topic.
So you told me to take it whatever direction. I did.
Because I don't remember. I told
that is your fault. That is your fault. So these are not.
My memory is photographic. It does not mean that I remember. Anyway, next. I have to see the pictures. Okay, I have to see the pictures. People don't understand.
It doesn't work. So these are not questions that were submitted. These are just questions that I think that we've addressed on the podcast before, and I think we've even had some of them as topics. Mm-hmm. But I think there'd be good ones just to remind people in kind of a rapid fire, because everybody hasn't listened to every episode. I think.
Well, there's almost 200 of them, so.
What is this one?
I don't know.
Do you know?
We're getting very close to 200. I do know that.
We should do something special for number 200.
Yeah. You better figure it out real quick, sir.
When's that Formula One racing in Vegas? Is that happening yet?
I don't know. There was a Formula One race.
Yes, they're turning the streets. The Las Vegas Strip is becoming a racetrack.
Oh, well, that's special.
Okay, so first one.
We're at 188. There you go. This is 189.
I was going to say there. That's what I had that written on a little sheet here, but I did not. I was just guessing. Oh. Okay. The first one, Ryan, and this we're gonna make them. I mean, some of these are very simple. Why look at the judge? Do you hear all the parents hollering at their children? Look at the judge from the outside. Do you hear this at every show?
Oh yes, I hear it. I think
why.
Well, I think that probably the biggest reason why to look at the judge is because that's the person that's going to place you. So when they pull you, you need to be looking at them so you can go to your spot.
And sometimes do you have to walk up and tap the exhibitor on the shoulder and say, please? Okay. You'd rather not have to do that.
I would. But again, I don't. Okay, so again, this is just me. I place very quickly, so it doesn't really bother me as much because again, I have a little more understanding because like if it's cattle, sheep, or goats, normally I'm pulling before they get stopped. So I'm really pretty good about that. Now, if a kid's been standing there for a long time and you've motioned like forever and they're just not, they're in la la land, whatever. I I mean that can get annoying, but I know some people, and again, this is kind of a older guard type thing, but I can remember when I was little, they always told me if judge is pulling top to bottom and you even think you're getting pulled, just go. Because all they can do is tell you to go back. Because there are some judges that if they motion to you and you don't, they're done. Like, bye, you lost your spot. Like you did it. See my pull. See you later. Bye. Especially in
and I
showmanship.
don't. Yes, I'm with you 100%, and I believe that did happen at times. I don't think it probably happens much anymore. I'm
No,
not
I
saying
said
there
it
isn't
was
somebody
more
that
of
won't
an
do it.
older guard
Yeah.
type thing, but
And so can we sometimes stare at the judge too much and not have any idea, not do a quick check on our animal or our ring awareness disappears because we're so focused on the judge.
yeah, that happens as much as people not looking. And again, it's great that you're staring down the judge, but your animal's back legs are crossed over. So
See, I'm out. That's a terrible.
Eh.
People just have balance, and parents and coaches ringside. I understand you want them to look at the judge, and as a judge, I want them to look at me so I don't have to motion more than once. But I am far more concerned that animal is looking the best it can. And if they're so focused on looking at the judge and forgetting about everything else they're doing, that doesn't work.
Now, I have
Next one.
hold on, but on this, and again, I think that the best thing that I have ever told kids or whatever in terms of this is like, the judge is not always going to be directly in front of you. Now, when the judge is directly in front of you, yeah, you probably need to be like trying to stare holes through that one. But if the judge is two animals down, look down at your sheep, look down at your goat, look down at your steer, and make sure that the legs are still where they need to be. You need, and it, I don't know how to teach this, but I'm telling you, it happens. You can feel the animal move through the head or through the chain on the halter. If you really are in tune, you know when that one is about to move, and you can put more pressure on the head or the chain to keep it from moving, or you can feel it move. And so anytime that you feel those things, you've got to look down and check and get them back right. And again, I don't know how to teach kids that, but I'm telling you, it is there and it is real.
No, and it's very clear, and it happens. And I think we need a term for that, Ryan. That moment when you can feel that animal shifting in whatever manner, or relaxing, or tensing, or whatever we sense as an exhibitor right before they're going to move, and a little shake of the head or anything we can do to kind of get their attention back, like, hey, don't you do that. We need a term for what that is right at that moment.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I've done it 1,000 times, or more than 1,000 times, and but you can feel one start to whatever, and if you will just adjust the pressure, however you're holding that animal, most times they will not move. But anyway, biggest thing is always, like, every 30 to 45 seconds, look down, check, make sure that your animal is still where they need to be. But I'm telling you, the easiest thing to do is you feel it through the chain or feel it through the head. But.
Absolutely. Why bounce up and down in the ring when showing pigs?
That's a terrible idea. It's awful. And I do want to commend people. I don't know at all the shows, but since we have discussed that on here, I have seen so much less of it. Thank you.
That is
I'm not taking credit for it, but I think it's got to be, because it was like over half the children there for a while, and now I rarely see it. Now, and again, I'm not going to trust it here, but we've got another trend starting in hogs that I'm getting a little worried about, but that's for another podcast. But the bouncing up and down like you've got earbuds in, it's crazy. Don't do it. It's terrible.
It's going to sound like we're picking on the hog ring here, but why whip, 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 whip?
I don't understand it. I don't know why. That whip is meant to be a guide, not a weapon. And I promise you, the comment I give more than any other comment in hog showmanship. I did 2 hog shows last weekend. I'm going to do 2 hog shows this weekend. The comment I give to more than half of the kids in showmanship after I tell them what they did well, you're too aggressive on the head, too aggressive on the head, too aggressive on the head. And again, if you will just put that whip up by the little piggy's face, you don't have to tap, tappy, whippy. If it's up there, they will continue to go the direction you want them to go without having to physically make contact more times than not.
I would agree. That's an ideal situation. There may be some hogs that just won't.
No, there's exceptions to every rule, but more times than not, you can do it without having to slap the thing 5 million times.
Agreed. I believe it's a distraction. And I think when we're doing that and we try to get that head higher than they can naturally carry it, all of a sudden we can't move out of that front end and we're drastically inhibiting movement. So it becomes counterproductive at some point. Why people push the lambs tops down when you're watching them as a judge?
Oh, Jesus.
While the judges look.
I don't know. Again, it's a terrible idea.
I do. I have an answer.
Uh-huh.
They want to make sure the judge knows that's a tight top line. They want to ensure that that they're not hiding anything, that the judge understands that this one has a problem in the top line.
Oh, well, that's very nice of them to point it out.
It's very logical.
It's very nice.
Very simple.
That's terrible. No, you have come up with some very terrible questions here. Like,
well, these are ones I think we've addressed all of these in the past. I really believe that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another lamb one. And you've picked on this, so I'm going to throw it back at you.
Uh-huh.
Why, when showing lambs, do we do the splits nearly all the way to the ground?
I don't know. And I say this a lot in showmanship critiques, and sheep or goats. And I don't understand why we do the splits. I don't understand why we do all this other stuff. Because again, and I don't understand why more judges don't tell the truth, but they don't for some reason. I can go up to any sheep or any goat, and before I lay my hands on that animal, I can tell if they're bracing or not. Okay? I just can't. Like, I think, Dale, if you're being honest, you can too. Like, yes. You can tell if they're bracing.
For the most part.
Right. If they're bracing or not before you ever put your hands on that animal. And at this day and age, at this point, whatever, more of them are not, and yet we are doing contortionist moves, and we're swinging from side to side, and we're tapping on them to get them to whatever, and it's not doing anything. It is not working.
And I'm the first one that will come out and tell you, adjust your body, do anything you can to get that animal to look at its best. Don't stay in that traditional show position. If there's another position that
I don't
works
care
better,
if you're actually doing the splits on the ground, if the animal is bracing.
If it works.
But if it's not, you just look dumb.
No, I'm completely with you on that one. This one goes to some of the show staff, and we don't want to pick on them because we're mostly volunteers and we appreciate them. However, it seems like at some of the shows, we have a very cranky person that's checking people into the ring. Why do they have to be cranky?
Probably because they've dealt with some very cranky exhibitors and families throughout the days. That might be slow to get.
That are very slow to get.
That might be part of it. And this is going to go a little off topic. And this is something that a topic that I have wanted to do from the beginning, and Dale just will not do it. But I don't know why he won't do it. But if you're running a show, you need, and like we appreciate everybody does it because it's most volunteer effort, but you need to evaluate your team of volunteers and put the best person in the right job. And again, I've had this on the topic list for probably 2 years and Dale refuses to do it. But if you have someone that has a short temper, maybe not the best people person, all this other stuff, but is a volunteer, wants to help, probably don't put that person checking in people. Put them in something where they have to deal with the least number of people possible instead of the most number of people possible. And checking in the animals at the gate, you're going to have to deal with more kids and more human beings than anyone else throughout the day.
That are running late, that are tense about going in the ring, that have a lot of things going on that may make the tension level rise just a little bit. I think what your topic is talking about there, and we've discussed it a little bit.
No, I've had volunteerism on this list, knowing your role for 2 years, and you refuse to do it.
From the time I pull in to that lot to check in or to get in line, that person that you first greet there, and it's usually not all shows, but the national shows, it's probably a city worker of some sort, not even necessarily a staff member of the livestock show. But anyway, their personality and everybody you encounter from there on impacts your image and your I guess experience that you're going to have at that show. So I'm with you. I'm good. Just put that. I did not see that on your list the other day that you sent me, by the way,
because I only sent the first time. Dale, I'm counting. Hold on one second. This is like fourth from the bottom of topics on here that I have this growing list of topics, people, in my notes. And this one, volunteerism, know your role. No, volunteerism.
It was on the one that you sent me the other day.
No, because it's so far down on the list because you've refused to do it.
Got it. Okay, let's keep going. I have a lot of whys yet to do. Whys.
Y'all notice he don't want to admit to shit, but anyway.
Why should a show make a big deal out of the Grand Drive?
Because it's cool and it's fun and it makes people want to be in the Grand Drive. Because again, unless you have me judging, if you've got a mini Hereford or a Burke or, a white face cross sheep, you probably going out there to just represent your breed. And that's fine, but make it, this past weekend at the Climb Jackpot, they had lights and smoke and all this other stuff. And again, those kids had a good time, and that's what it's about. And I know that, and that was just a jackpot show. It was 300 head jackpot show, but it's still a jackpot show. But those things are cool, and that makes people want to be in that Grand Drive. And for you people running shows, that makes people want to come back, to be like, ooh, next year I'm going to come back and I'm going to be in that Grand Drive because that was cool. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, you need it. And not just that, but you have to find a way, if you want people to continue to go to your show, you have to find a way to set your show apart from all the other ones. Because every weekend there's going to be multiple options for them to choose from. And you got to find a way, whether it's a cool Grand Drive or you give a lot of money or you have crazy good prizes. You've got to find a way to set yourself apart so people will want to go to your show and continue to go back. But a cool Grand Drive, a unique Grand Drive, that will do it.
And I believe the past few years, more shows have done a much better job of incorporating that into their shows. And especially at the state fair level, you're starting to see some really good ones. And I would like to reach out to any of those state fair managers, any show managers that may be listening. If you're unsure you don't have to travel to the Indiana State Fair or the Kentucky State Fair or wherever or OIE, wherever they're putting on a really unique, impressive grand drive. You can they're going to live stream that somewhere. You don't have to go, but grab and steal ideas.
If you have a subscription to Walton Webcasting, Indiana State Fair grand drives on there year after year after year. You can just go watch it.
Yeah, and I think there's several, and you don't have to model it after one exact one, but steal bits and pieces from some and make your own and make it really good. It's a big deal. Ryan, this one ties into a little bit, and I'm probably bigger on this than some. I actually appreciate
Aliens.
or yes, definitely aliens. I haven't done much alien stuff. Why is it a good idea, if possible, to have background music during the show? Not
I
loud,
don't
but just
care. I don't. This is you and Sheree, and I don't.
I think of the organ at Louisville, and I think I remember it so solidly. And I think about some of the jackpot shows that do it versus those that don't. When it's dead silence in those bleachers in that ring, other than when the judge is talking or they're calling a class, it's just it's not as enjoyable of a feeling. It seems like with the background music, everybody's a little more inclined to visit and just enjoy things. That silence sometimes causes an uncomfortable situation, I guess. And this could just be me, but that is the way I interpret it.
If they have background music, it's fine. If they don't, it's fine. I'm 99% of the shows that I attend, I am judging, and so the music does not affect me.
It's not for the benefit of the judge. It's for those that are at the show.
Yeah, the music does not affect me. I was talking to a BTRJLA parent yesterday, and talking about a show that they're going to that's coming up, and or they went to this past weekend. And anyway, you could watch the show on this. It was webcast or whatever, and all this other stuff. And he was like saying how good that was, and all this other stuff. And he's like, and this particular platform, and I don't know which one it was. I don't even remember, but like it translates the judge's comments into text so you can read and hear and all this and whatever. And he's like, "You've never seen that?" I said, "I try not to watch shows because most judges make me angry, so I try not to watch it all if I can." But there you go.
Very good. Why dress the part in the ring? Why dress the part as an exhibitor?
Think again, because it's a package. People don't want to admit that, don't want to understand it, don't want to embrace it, but it is more than just your animal. The exhibitor is a part of it. It is a package deal out there. And anybody that doesn't believe that or tells you differently is lying, because
agreed,
it is what it is. And so you spent all this time making your animal look the very best it can be. You better go out there and look the very best you can too. And again, I don't think any judge is going to care if, you've been fitting and you've got some dirt or paint on your jeans or something like that, as long as it's not crazy. But you need to look like a professional. And I promise you, anything, this goes back to the same concept we have said on this program, on this podcast 1,000 times. Anything that can get you noticed in a positive way, whether it is if you are clean, sharp, dressed, all the things, that is good. But if you come in there looking like a train wreck with, your head to toe messy, untucked shirt, ripped up jeans, you name it, you're going to get attention, but it's going to be in a negative way, and that's not going to help.
Agreed completely. You're going to love this next one.
Oh, yay.
Why go to the ring to watch a couple classes before you go in?
Don't even get me started on this. So your child doesn't look like an idiot. Okay?
Yeah,
that's why.
We've brought this up so many times. I'm begging one more time. Please encourage those kids to go to the ring. Just do it. Just do it. Not you, the parents.
Yeah,
the parents and the coaches.
No, the parents and the coaches need to drag them by force. That is what.
maybe you need to start announcing at the beginning of the show, hey, exhibitors, please come here. Come to the ring. Call them up.
Drag them by force. I mean,
Call them up.
like drag them by force and hold their little faces there and make them watch. I don't know. I do not get why parents and coaches, if you're not trying to drag them by force up there, what you're missing. I also don't get why a kid doesn't want to go up there and see what's going on so they don't look like an idiot. I don't. This is the thing that fathoms me the most about stock shows. Like, I have never in my life wanted to go into any situation, whether it was a stock show or anything else, and look like an idiot. I just never have. Like, that has been something I have tried painstakingly to avoid my entire life. And nope, it's fine. That's what we're just gonna go out here and we're gonna walk around till somebody tells us where we're supposed to be and do. I can't. I can't.
You're done with it. You can't do it. You cannot do it.
Mm.
This next one is a little more technical, but I think good. Why drench lambs or goats?
Because they're dumb and they don't know how to drink on their own. No, sorry. There's many reasons on why you drench and what you drench and all this other stuff, but it shows when they're doing this, a lot of animals don't drink properly like they do at home and stay hydrated. And then because there are people that think they have voodoo drenches that help things, and so there's a lot of reasons to drench. I think the most obvious reason is because you want something to go in that animal that you think will be beneficial that they probably will not intake on their own.
Nope, I think it's simple. And a lot of times when we go to shows, if it's our first show, sometimes you may not have Show Fresh H2O there to put in the water, and it's going to be a different tasting water, stress. There's a lot of reasons that animals just don't want to drink in a new environment. I think about Fort Worth, Ryan, and it shocks me, and those that aren't familiar with the Texas Majors could never imagine this. And it's not as bad now as it was a few years ago, but I would show up there and there would be 4 goats in a relatively small pen from 4 different exhibitors that may not even have known each other before they got to the show. It is a situation that those animals are going to be stressed. And we understand that muscle is 80% water. And if we dehydrate, we're going to lose a lot of muscle shape. And obviously in a market show, we want some muscle shape. So if we can't get them to drink on their own, we will put fluids into them. I don't know if I subscribe to all the magic potions, but if we have water in them and we have some feed in their belly to create some glucose, then we're going to get that absorption into the muscle. If they're not eating, then we're going to have to put a little sugar in that water or some electrolytes or something that's going to help pull that water into the muscle. So there's a lot of magic potions out there. I don't think we need to get too extreme, and I caution those. If that animal has not been drenched at home, goats aren't very good about drenching and we can do some damage there, so be careful. I caution to make sure that it's legal and it's in the rules that you're allowed to drench or where you're allowed to drench at that particular show. And don't start shoving every snake oil concoction down them through a drench gun if they've never had it before, because I promise you, within a few hours, they're going to have the screaming shits. And the screaming shits does not help hydration. Not even a little bit.
The only other thing on this topic that I just want to put out there is like, I think in the sheep and goats, and again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody here, but like, I have seen families, exhibitors, whatever, that they don't allow their animals to drink naturally. The only thing that goes in there is through a drench gun. And I think that is probably a bit extreme.
Yes, no, and that this happens. This is real.
No, I mean, it is real. And I think it's bad. It's not good. Not good.
Okay, we're going to try to only pull a few more questions here, but I've got a great one.
Oh, God.
This is my favorite one. I got to find
yay.
I got it. Why take an expensive purse to a show?
You should really feel bad since it got stolen at your showbox, but you don't. You just keep rounding.
Oh, I felt bad at the moment, and now as I think back on it, how much would that? What would the retail value of that purse?
I
that
told you what the
left
retail
laying?
value was at the show, and you almost had a heart attack. People know what a Louis Vuitton purse costs. So
I did not know. I did not.
well, I can't help.
Had
you.
no idea.
Mhm.
Nor now that I know would I ever condone paying that much for one of those.
I guarantee you, every other purse there probably had close to what my purse cost in it, whether it was a computer or all this other stuff. So don't go there with me.
No.
Yes.
No.
I bet your wife had a lot of cash in her purse. They didn't sell hers.
It's possible.
How much? Do you know how much Tara's computer cost? They didn't
Not.
steal her backpack. Exactly.
Okay. I've had one more question here, and then we can go into the real question and answer that actually was submitted from our guest. Why did the show ring drift apart from the animals that work well in the real world? Why did the drift happen? At one time, they were the same.
That's again, you're being delusional, and it did. I don't think that's ever been this. I mean, maybe
Yes, there's been more of a priority placed on making them functional and fit in a real world situation, and still make them good looking. But the other things there,
maybe when you were in your 20s, I don't know.
Yes, can we agree? Can we agree at this point that we're not overly concerned about the real world?
I have said that 1,000 times, and you tell me that I'm wrong. There is nothing that relates back to the commercial industry in any of these species. In any of them.
I disagree that there's still judges that will tie those two together, and internationally, everywhere except for here, ties more of the.
Then move your ass to Argentina and show down there.
I'm not just saying there. I'm talking Europe, Australia.
Okay, move
Canada,
over there.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Take your cows and your goats and go move over there. Your goats ain't gonna do worth that.
No, they won't work. I tried to watch a goat. I don't even know if they show goats in some of those countries. If they do, I'm not sure.
Okay, before we get off topic, I don't remember what this was supposed to be about, but I know it wasn't this. But I have some things that I think that you as families and exhibitors probably should ask. And again, I think asking any question is important, but Dale focused on some pretty basic stuff, but I think that when you were out there, if you don't ask people who are selling animals or running shows or all these other things the hard questions, then they're never going to be held accountable for things. And so when you're going to a broker or a breeder or whatever, you just can't accept on face value that person is going to be there for you throughout that animal show career. You need to say, hey, look, can I rely on you for this, and this? And you have to take their word at face value. And I guarantee you, probably very few of them are going to say, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. They're probably all going to go, yeah, of course I can. But you have to ask those things. And then if they don't follow through on it, then you know not to go to them again the next time. But you have to lay it out there and say, this is what I need from you. Can you do this for me? And same way with shows. We see this rule book, we see this list of rules and that we're supposed to play by and all this other stuff, and nobody asks why they're there. Not one single person asks, why is this rule in place? And I promise you, if you actually read rule books, which I know Dale Hummel does not, by the way, if you actually read rule books, you would be probably offended by some of the rules that are in there because there's no way they can be enforced. They don't do any good. They have no use, but they're still in there. And so again, if we don't ask those questions, things like that's never going to change. And probably most importantly, I think we should ask why, and this is to everybody. Why does this person get selected to judge this show? Why does this person not get to judge this show? Because obviously there is a process that every show goes through in picking a judge, but we all complain about judges at every level of show, and yet none of y'all will go up there and say, how did you land on this person? Take me through the process.
Or what is in place to determine who determines?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Show.
Tell me who determined it. How did you land on this person? Why? Those are things.
Even if that judge did a great job, it's still good to know. Well, how did?
Yeah, I don't care if they did bad or good. You need to know, and they should be able to tell you those things. And if they can't tell you those things, there's something real shady going on there. Real shady. And
Ryan, who hires the judge for San Antonio? Let's say the steer judge at San Antonio.
Well, there's something called an animal industries committee, and they send a list to every Texas major show of who they would like, and that animals industry committee is made up of ag teachers and county agents, and of who they think should judge. Those lists go out to the various majors, and then those shows decide. Some of them go exactly by the animal industry committee list for the most part. Some of them don't at all, but that's up to the individual show.
And who at that individual show is making that decision?
It's different at every single one.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is we just don't always know.
I'm not going to call people out by names here, okay? So
no, I'm not asking for that. It just, I think every show has a different procedure, I guess maybe is what I'm getting at. And it would be good to know what those procedures are and who's the one making those decisions.
No, yeah. And again,
for the better or for the worse, either way.
If they can't, and again, if a broker can't answer the questions, the hard questions, if a guy or gal running a stock show can't answer the hard questions about rules or anything else, then that's when you starting to question transparency and is there something shady going on there? Because those are things that if you're in this business to sell animals, you should be able to answer any question about the animals you are selling, and also about how you can proceed from there on if you buy that animal. If you are running a show, you should be able to answer every single question that comes to you on why does Rule 233 exist? Or how did you come up with this person to judge this show? And if you can't, again, there's a problem in my opinion.
Fair enough. Are we ready for your sponsor for question and answer?
Sure. Hold on one second. Basic Animal Health is proud to present the question and answer portion of the Beyond the Ring podcast. Basic Animal Health is dedicated to provide you natural solutions through your animal needs through their products of gut health, show focused, and trailer ride. When you go to www.basicanimalhealth.com and you purchase their products, if you will put in the code BTRJLA at checkout, we will receive a portion of the profits from those that buy. So use the BTRJLA code. Thank you, Basic Animal Health, for your support of this podcast and of the BTRJLA.
Thank you. The first question, and this is not for me, these are actually submitted by our listeners. First, thank you both for the podcast. I always learn something. I'm very excited to be serving as a junior director for a junior cattle organization. I'm on a committee that tossed up the idea of showing the calf division 6 to 9 month old breeding animals by weight versus age. Without disclosing my opinion, I wanted to get both of yours. Please share what your thoughts on that would be. I think we've talked about this, but we can do this again. Summarize.
She said 6 to 9 months of age.
I don't know why they picked that group, but yeah. So if they fall in the 6 to 9 month range rather than within the way I interpret it within that age range, let's just go ahead and show them by weight.
I think this is an all in or all out proposition. I don't think doing it from 6 to 9 months is going to change anything.
I assume they're seeing the biggest differences there is why that was brought out, but I agree with what you're saying.
And I get it because the ones that are overaged are going to weigh a lot more than the ones that whatever, but still, that's not going to change anything because again, it's not in the long run going to change things. The whole purpose of showing breeding animals by weight, and we don't do this, but if you do, it is because the only way to take the overaging factor out of the equation permanently is for it to not mean anything. And that's what showing by weight does. But NJSA did some stuff. I don't know if they're still going to continue with that. I know lots of different breed associations have put in weight parameters and height parameters in the cattle deal, stuff like that. I don't ever expect breeding animals to be shown by weight, but this, in my opinion, everybody wants to gripe and complain about overaging and how it's ruining all this stuff. This has been around since the earth cooled. Okay, this is not a new concept. And number two, as I've stated on here before, eventually it's going to catch up with them and they're going to be old and stale before their time and whatever. So it all evens out. But the only way to completely get rid of overaging is to show by weight. And we're not going to do that. So, I mean, there you go.
Simple enough. The next one comes from Mandy. Love the podcast. Recently, I was at a county fair just to watch. The judge did seem to do things a little differently. At one point, she asked the kids to pull out of line to go to a specific spot and show her what they thought was the best view of their lamb. The student behind that one then rolled up close to into that person's spot. I guess kind of like when we pull them in, we just move the line shifts up is what I assume she's talking about. What is the next person in line supposed to do? Follow the person and close the hole or maintain their position? I don't think this necessarily applies just because she's making them show the best position. But when they pull out of line, I think she's asking, do we move forward? Does that make sense to you?
No, none of this question makes sense to me.
Yeah, it was a little confusing, so I tried to clarify. But I believe this judge was pulling some out and letting them stand on their own. And she's confused. What does the person that was standing behind that, do they pull forward like you normally would when judges are pulling them in line?
I don't know because I've never heard of this. I wouldn't know what to do in that situation. If it's a normal class and the one in front of you gets pulled in place, then yeah, you pull up. But in this, if this person is telling the one in front of you to go show the best angle of whatever, eventually I would think they're going to come back in line. So I have no advice for you on this. None.
So maybe it was a showmanship situation, not a actual show that this was happening in. But I think it does bring up, there are some situations, depending on the ring, Ryan, that if one's pulled out from in front of you and you're on high ground and you've got footing, just like at Louisville. Remember when that tar paper was coming up?
The minefield.
There were spots out there that you had a thin layer of shavings on that slick concrete and that there was no way to get them you could not get a brace on them. If you happen to be standing on some tar paper and somebody pulls out from in front of you and you know if you move up there, you will not get a brace, I'm probably okay with holding tight in some situations like that under those circumstances.
And again, under the extreme circumstances that were the Louisville Goat Show, I think the judge is going to understand what you're trying to do. But I get that you don't want to put your animal down in a hole in a show ring and all this other stuff. But if I'm just going to tell you, if it's in showmanship, you better pull your ass up because
I get it.
You're going to get crushed because it just is what it is. If you're out there trying, and I'm saying I agree with that. If I am judging showmanship and I see a kid not pull forward because I know that one's going to go down in a hole, I think that's being very savvy and very smart about things. So I'm probably not going to penalize them. But again,
traditionally speaking, you're going to get dinged.
Right. Most are. And so I think when you're out there in a show, same thing. If you know you're fixing to be in a hole, or like the situation at Louisville where nobody could get a brace, etc., I get it. I understand it. I think there are going to be times, and if it's in the regular show, the best thing to do is just follow what the judge says, because at some point, if you're whittling down there and you're down to your top 5, you're going to want them as close together as you can so you can evaluate them all in one look, in one glance, etc. But I don't know. It's very that goes back to who's judging and their experiences and all that. I don't know if that's a terrible question.
Okay, the next one I pulled off of partially because it's close to the top of the email, and you had a discussion with me this week about judging a hog show and you may not have had a lot of pins to pin the hogs in. So this one relates to that exact situation. Ryan, it doesn't say Dale. Ryan, when I watched you in Madison County, Ohio, you used pins in the pig show.
You've had this question before.
I trained my first year showman to expect pins. That question we've used.
There you go. They said that I judged a show and used pins, and then I went to their county fair and didn't use pins.
Yes, I apologize that we had that one before. And it came up because did you not judge a show this weekend that you did not have a choice?
Yeah, there were no pins. But again, I can answer the question again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not a big deal. The difference in what this question is the show that he got upset about because I didn't use pins. The ring was huge, and it would have taken more time for them to get one down there to the pin in than I could have placed the whole class. So yeah, that's why I didn't use pins there.
And I think in the small class, if you've got 3, 4, or 5 in there, probably no real reason to.
When I am judging hogs, if there's 5 or less in a class, you're not going to get them pinned in time before I'm done judging the class and talking on the mic. So everything is relevant. So again, answered that question, but that is why. And it wasn't like I guess my whole thing is when I'm judging a show, I read the situation for what it is, the ring what it is, look at the class sheets, and formulate a plan. And I try to stay consistent with that plan from that show. But this guy's taking an experience he saw at one county fair and comparing it to another county fair when it's not the same show. So I try to be consistent on that day and do the same thing regardless of species on that day at that show, given that ring and given the situation and everything. But just because I did it that way at that show doesn't mean when I go to a completely different show a month later and things are upside down and backwards from the other one, it's going to be the same.
Fair enough. Well, Ryan, I don't know what the topic was supposed to go today, but I think we hit a lot of high points that hopefully if listeners hit this particular episode, they can get a lot of those things that came from multiple episodes in the past. And I appreciate your time. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?